Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmadu salli ala Rasulil Kareem. The next Malfouz is not very long, but when I read it, it brought back lots of memories for me. What memories? I'll tell you once I've read the Malfouz, then I'll tell you a bit of the memories it brought back to me. The Malfouz concern is about making salaam, and our Hazrat says, फरमाया शुरू इस्लाम में सलाम का बहुत कसरत से मामूल था. In the beginning of Islam just came to Makkah Sharif, Medina Sharif, there was a abundance of making salam one with the other. The Sahaba were told to make salam in abundance. Those Sahabi, Hazrat gives us example, which is from the Hadith Sharif, which I'm sure we all have heard about. दो sahabi साथ साथ जा रहे थे. Two sahabi, they were walking together somewhere out in the open area. एक दाहिनी तरफ को चला गया, सामने दरख्त आ गया. जाहिर है दरख्त को फाड़ कर तो साथ नहीं जा सकते. एक दाहिनी तरफ को चला गया, दूसरा बाई तरफ को. So as they were walking, there was a tree right in their path, and it's quite obvious they couldn't sort of divide the tree into two and walk through the middle of the tree. So the one went onto the right side of the tree, and the other one, they separated for that little while, and the other one went to the along the left side, and they met again after having passed the tree. This is important to remember, that they had just parted for a few seconds. The distance was not very far, just a distance between them that separated was the distance of a tree. And then when they met together again, तो जब दरख्त से आगे दोनों मिले तो फिर मुसाफिर और सलाम हो रहा है. So they met again after being separated for the short time, for the short distance. They made salam and they shook hands again. ज़रा सी फासले से सलाम व मुसाफिर दोनों का आदा हो रहा है. There was a repetition of the salam and the musafir after that short separation. Our Hazrat explains why. उस वक्त की ज़रूरत थी. This was a need at that particular time. जी हाँ, very true. इस वक्त उसकी ज़रूरत थी. आजकल बाज़ इब्तिदाई इस्लाम की बाज़ वक्ती ज़रूरी बातों पर अमल करते हैं. विचारों ने कहीं हदीस सुन ली और अमल शुरू कर दिया. इल्म फ़िक्र से वाकिफ़ नहीं, मौका महल पहचानते नहीं, न राज मरजू को समझते हैं, न तरजीह को जानते हैं. एक मिसल मशहूर है, नीम तबीब खतरा जान, नीम मुल्ला खतरा ईमान. सिर्फ किताबों को देखकर मुताला करके करा के न मालूम खुद को क्या समझ लेते हैं. मौलवियों से मुकाबले पर उड़ जाता है, बड़ा अंधेर खाता है. बाज़ वक्त दफ़ा शरअ के लिए खामोशी इख्तियार करना पड़ती है. Right, so our Hazrat explains that at that time it was a great need for it. What was the need? Because these were complete strangers, suddenly in a brotherhood. They didn't know one another. They didn't develop, grow up as Muslims. They were new Muslims, possibly as with in Medina Sharif, the two tribes we had been fighting for years, 90 years or something, with one another. Now suddenly they became brothers. So how do you build that muhabbat? By making salam frequently. So this was a need at that time, that the more salam you're going to make the person, the more friendly you're going to become to him, the more you come to know him. And this is how the muhabbat and brotherhood develops. So this was the need at that particular time. How has it explained? Nowadays, some people, they say something about what happened in the beginning of Islam in a temporary or incidental manner, something that was there only for that short while, and they see that and they immediately start acting on it. The poor chaps, they had heard a hadith somewhere and immediately they started making amal on that particular hadith. They are not aware of the knowledge of fiqh, the specialty of fiqh. They do not understand occasion, mawqamahil, occasion, appropriateness of the occasion, appropriateness of the situation, appropriateness of the circumstances. They don't know what is uh, 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 takes precedence and what has to be put on the back burner, so to say. Uh, and our Hazrat mentions this famous Farsi uh, sentence, Neem tabib khatra jan, neem mullah khatra iman. Somebody who's a half-baked doctor, somebody who's a quack, he is going to be a danger to your life. And neem mullah khatra, somebody who is a half-baked alim or self-taught alim, he is a danger to your iman. Neem tabib khatra jan reminds me of an incident our Hazrat mentioned. There's in this one village, there are a lot of dates, some were very high. This one person decided to get some dates, or was it, I think it was dates or coconuts. And your tree was very high and he climbed on top. Now when you got there, you got gabrat. How to come down? And he stuck there now and shouted for help. The village people came, look at the situation, and don't know what to do. So they said, look, there's an old man here in the village. He's experienced. We'll ask him to see what's to be done. They called the old man, he came. He said, no problem, you'll get him round very quickly. So just what must you do? Get a rope. So they got a rope. Okay, throw it up to him and tell him to tie it around his waist. After a few efforts, they managed to get it to him, tied it around his waist. They said, okay, now pull. They pulled and he fell down dead. So they looking at the old man and said, what's happened? He's dead. He fell down. It was in his takdir. But why you men, why you told us to do this? Hey man, you don't know how many people we drag from the well with this method. How many people were in the well, we threw the rope and we pulled them up. So, Nim Tabib Khatrajan. We laugh at it, but you find people saying, so many people were saved with the smallpox vaccine and that vaccine. Don't worry, man, nothing will happen to you. No, let's not go into that subject. So somebody, as I said, somebody who's only got half-baked knowledge, whose half-baked knowledge is very, very cursory or superficial, is a danger to your iman. Just by reading kitabs, studying kitabs, we don't know what the person will understand just by reading the kitab. And then Mawlana ke mukabale par, and then they start knowing a bit. They start now debating and confronting the ulama. They are in great darkness. बाज़ दफ़ा शर के लिए खामोशी इख्तियार करना पड़ेगी. दफ़ा शर के लिए, sometimes it is better to keep quiet in order to ward off evil. So I said this Mahfouz is very short, but like I said, it brought back lots of memories for me. One memory is that I was in Jalalabad at that majlis when this was did. I think it's the same Mahfouz. It sounds exactly the same that I was there. And this was approximately, I can't remember the exact date, but this is also important to know that this was around mid-80s, 83, 85, somewhere around there. And so there's one memory that brought me back, or I should say, took me back to Jalalabad. I can imagine sitting there and Hazrat speaking about this. But more amazing than that is something else. Yeah, I've got to go back a bit history, personal history. After, just before Hajj, 1976, and after Hajj, I was very keen on learning Arabic. So after Hajj, I was in nuclear, I was not married then at that time. And I met this one person who we became friends. And I was so very green, my knowledge of Deen was dangerous. And I was busy in process of learning. And I met this person and became friends, and he seemed to know much more than what I did. He knew Arabic, and he could quote hadith. For the life, to save my life also, I can't quote hadith. So to me, he appeared to be quite learned, and he used to speak about deen, very deeny inclined, and mashallah beard also. And then one day, he invited me to his house, and he came with his card to where I was there in Hamilton City. And he came in and we made salam, Musafa, and we went to the car. He got in at the driver's side, I got in at the passenger side, and we got in, and he made salam again. And I looked at him, I'm wondering what's happening. I replied. Then we went to his home, and I'm sitting in the lounge, and then he went into the bedroom to do something, and he came back, and he made salam. I wanted to know what's happening. Then he went into the kitchen, and came back and made salam. So I'm wondering now what's happened. So he explained to me that this is what the Sahaba used to do. The exact hadith that our Hazrat quoted. That the two Sahaba were going and they were separated, and when they met again, they made salam again. So he's acting on the hadith. So I said, well, look at that thing. He's so dedicated, he's acting on the hadith per se. He did a lot of other things as well, which I didn't understand. He used to stand with his namaz, when he stand with his legs apart. He used to hold his hands. Yeah. And I said, this is not what we were taught. Now, I knew somebody in Hajj time, alhamdulillah, I took a liking to this person. At that time, he was a student studying karate. He brought his mother and sisters for Hajj. And then we became good friends, and I learned a lot from him. And I took a liking for him. And this person, of course, after he qualified, came back to South Africa. And he started teaching at the old Kirk Street. After that, he went on to Lens and was there for a couple of years in Masjid Taqwa. And after that, he went to a place called Zakaria Park. And he's the principal of Darul Zakaria Mawlana Shabi Solidis. So one day, a few things I didn't understand. So I said, let's go and ask Mullah Chabi Saluti. So he said, fine. And when we got there, I got the shock of my life. He was busy debating with Maulana. And Maulana Muhammad said, Gandhi Sahib was also there. They were studying together. And yeah, he was busy debating with them. I said, no, this is something now not right. But slowly we parted company, and I re-established my relationship with Maulana Shabir Sadruji Sahib. And he took me under his wing with great mohabbat. He tolerated all my shortcomings and ignorance and taught me a lot of things. And anybody, if you were to remember, when he went to Quota Islam in Dens, every Friday he had an informal little uh, gathering of teachers, myself, a few others. Ismail Wariawa was there also, Suji teacher, he was there also. And he used to have a very informal way of speaking, and we all got attracted to him. And a lot of people change their lives. A lot of people change their lives because of the Friday evening sessions that Mullah Shabir had. That is a bit of history. So that happened after I came back from Masjid. You can say in the 1970s, late 70s, or not so late 70s, about 77, 78, that this incident took place in Nuclear. And now in the mid 80s, our Hazrat is describing the same thing. So I picked up, I said, yeah, this is meant for me. This is meant for me because this is exactly what happened with this friend of mine, that he had studied a bit of hadith and he was now acting on the hadith, thinking he knew now more than the ulama who had studied for so many years. And exactly as our Hazrat says, Nim tabib khatre jan, nim mullah khatre iman. So those are some of the memories that came back from the old days. I thought, for me, it sort of took me back to very golden days. Those were very golden days for me, because when you start learning the deen, and you get people like Manas Sabri Saluji Sahib, and then later on I went to Jalabad, and you sort of drink from the fountain of knowledge that they have, then it puts you on high. It puts you on high. That's all, the only way I can put it. So those were golden days. Okay, fine. We can't live in the past. We've got to come back to the present. So what's the situation at present? Our next Malfooz also about salam. फरमाया आम तौर से अब मुसलमान का ये हाल हो गया कि आपस में आते जाते मिलते न ये सलाम करता है न वो सलाम करता है. Very true. Hazrat is predicting the present situation, that what is the situation now, that people go and meet with one another and they don't make salam to one another. बराबर से बिला सलाम गुजर जाते हैं. They pass one another without making salam. और शरीयत का क्या हुक्म है? What is the order of the Sharia? Bukhari Sharif की हदीस है, there's the hadith Sharif in Bukhari Sharif. अफसोस सलाम, सलाम को फैलाओ, spread the salam. सलाम की तशहीर करो, उसको राइज करो. आगे अरशद फरमाते हैं अलामन अर्रफ्त वमन दफ तारिफ. Without Zabar Nazir, I may be getting things wrong, but उसको भी जिसको तुम पहचानते हो और उसको भी जिसको नहीं पहचानते. Make salam to those people you know and also to those people you don't know. Uh, this reminds me of an incident somebody mentioned many years ago, that this is something special for Muslims. that Muslims are supposed to make salam to fellow Muslims, whether you know them or you don't know them. One person mentioned an incident that happened to him many years ago. He was at a zoo lake, and so happened that his Jewish boss he came across his Jewish boss, and of course he walked a little bit. They were standing there, and of course Sundays a lot of Muslims around there, other Muslims there, and this person was telling me, said, a Muslim passed by, I made salam to him, or came across him, he made salam to me, and I would pay salam. Afterwards, his boss asked me, do you know him? He said, no. So why are you greeting him if you don't know him? So this is shocking to the non-Muslim, that you would greet somebody you don't know. This is a specialty of Islam. This is one of the specialty of Islam that we've been told that whoever you know उसको भी जिसको तुम पहचानते हो और उसको भी जिसको नहीं पहचानते, even that person you know and even that person you don't know. देखिए मुसलमान शहरों के बारे में तफरीक हो रही है और या इफरात हो गई है. So what's happening with the Muslims? We are in tafreed or ifrat, either underdoing things or overdoing things, going to the extremes. Instead of choosing the middle path, we go to extremes. And our Hazrat explained, understand this ifrat tafreed. You look at the kurta of the Muslims. It says tafreed means less than what the Sharia demands. So he says we don't see it much nowadays, but at one stage it was fashionable to wear your kurta above the knee. So the mini kurta was in fashion. Or that's afraid, that's underdoing things, or overdoing things. The kurta is so long it covers the ankles. Ifrat tafreed, not using the balanced middle path. So that's an example of ifrat tafreed. So as I says, even in salam there's ifrat tafreed. चुनाचे अहले बिदत के यहाँ फ़र्ज़ नमाज के बाद बिलखुसूस फ़जर की नमाज के बाद सलाम मुसाफ़ा होता है. So as far as the people of bidat are concerned, uh, especially after the fajr namaz, they will make salam and make musafa. तो अहले बिदत के यहाँ तो इफ़रात हो गया. So this is now going to the one extreme as far as the bidat are concerned, कि जहाँ सलाम मुसाफत साबित नहीं है वहाँ हो रहा है. The way it is not proven that you should make salam in musafir from hadith sharif, or they are now insisting on it, वहाँ हो रहा है. और एक हमारा हाल है कि बराबर से निकला जा रहा है और सलाम नदा है. तो ये तफरी से मतलब इत्तला से वो नहीं है. And we, on the other hand, we will pass one another and we will not make salam, and this is now the other extreme of underdoing things. Here again, this is something that I personally asked our husband. As I said, I was in nuclear, and we used to go to the nuclear masjid or the Newlands masjid, and the imams were Shafis, and this is exactly what happened. Is after the Farz namaz, two things that I asked our Hazrat about. I told our Hazrat that the two things that happens, that after namaz they want to make salam and make musafir, shake your hands. And the other thing is that after the Farz namazes, Zuhr, Maghrib, Isha, the custom is to make loud collective dua, not short silent duas, longish loud duas. So I said, what must I do? So he said, exactly what he said, that this shaking of the hand, salam, is bidat, to insist on doing it. What you do is after your namaz, put your head down and get busy with your mamulat. Right? So when they see you busy, they won't come and disturb you and shake your hand. And that was the solution to the one problem I was facing. And this other problem of raising your hands and making dua. So I told Hazrat, I also follow the Imam. I also lift my hands, and when he says Ameen, also. She says, why do you do? So I said, no, out of respect for the Imam. I know it's not right, but out of respect for the Imam. So Hazrat says, you respect the Imam, but he doesn't respect the Sunnat. You respect the Imam, but he is not respecting the Sunnat. Finish. Answer mil gaya. I got my answer. So very often, even some of our ulama will make loud, long duas. Once we had an imam at our masjid, and after the namaz, you make your two sunnat muakkada, and you are still busy making his loud dua. So it looks very odd that who's that guy? He thinks so smart that he's got no respect for the alim. He's just standing up and starting with his namaz, and he's standing in first surf also. I don't know what people think, but I just get up and but that's important. That's a beautiful part of having a sheikh. That when he says something, then you don't have to worry. You just make amal on what he says. No respect of what people say or don't say. You just make amal on what uh, uh, he has advised you to do. So from that day onwards, sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes, at a special function, in nikah or something like that, and there are a whole lot of ulama there, and then all the other ulama are sitting and making dua, and you getting up, and you like a sort of, everybody's not looking at you, who you? You think you're better than the ulama? We don't think we're better, no, never near better, but we just following very in our own broken method. We're just trying to follow the teachings of our Shaykh. That's all we're trying to do. It may not be perfect, but at least we're making an attempt to follow on the teachings of our Shaykh. So that's about salam. The next Malfouz is a bit long, so I think we'll just end there. Like I said, it brought back a lot of memories. Mullah Shabi Soluji obviously was a very important person in my tarbiyat and ta'lim. And in the beginning, uh, of course, I couldn't write Urdu at all. And I had to write to our Hazrat, writing in English and getting somebody there to translate it into Urdu and then give it to Hazrat, and Hazrat would reply in Urdu, and this person would then translate it into English and send it back. I didn't feel that was quite correct. But Mawlana Shabi Soluji was very willing, and he used to write for me in Urdu. So I told him in English what I wanted, and Mawlana Shabi Soluji was very kind, and he used to write my letters for me. Uh, so I'm very much indebted to Mawlana Shabi Soluji sir, and I give him good health. Allah take more work of deen from him with khair and afiyat with sahudat. Acha, inshallah we stop there and we'll continue next week. Khuda Hafiz.